I thought I knew you.
Hold on, wait. Who you?
You know.
What the fuck is going on? Tell me what's wrong, baby, and I make it right. Got on my card and my phone, you wanna lay up, but baby, I cannot tonight. You say fuck all of the money and all of them gifts, baby, I just want your time. Can you go, baby, with all of the crimes? See, I gotta go, gotta clear my mind. Don't get me tired of the bullshit, I gotta eat, baby, I cannot stop in the city.
These are deadly shootings that happened more than 4 years ago inside the family home that's located here in Indianapolis out on the east side.
Rich Nye takes us into the courtroom to hear from the families destroyed by this mass murder.
Raymond Childs III was just 17 years old in January 2021 when 6 people were shot and killed inside this home on Adams Street. A jury convicted Childs in October of murdering his parents, his 13-year-old sister, his 18-year-old brother, and his brother's 19-year-old almost full-term pregnant girlfriend. A 15-year-old brother who ran out of the house was shot twice but survived. Childs told the families in a packed courtroom that he is not the killer.
Just as I sit here 4 years ago, I'm innocent. It's not a day that goes by where I don't think about them or wish that they was here. Even on my bad days, I tell myself that they're still here.
The judge called the murders calculated, cunning, and cold-blooded, sending Childs to prison for the rest of his life.
On January 24th, 2021, at 4 a.m., gunshots rang out inside a family home in Indianapolis, Indiana. Neighbors heard the sound but didn't expect what police would find inside. 6 people were dead, all from the same household. The victims included a father, a stepmother, 2 siblings, a pregnant teenager, and her unborn baby. There was no sign of a break-in, no robbery, no intruder. The house was locked from the inside. One person was missing, a 17-year-old boy named Raymond Childs. He was not a stranger to the victims. He was one of them. Police launched a manhunt, but it didn't take long. Hours later, Raymond was found hiding in a relative's home. The murder weapon had already been turned over. The evidence was clear. What happened inside that house was not random. It was targeted. It was planned. And it all started over a basic rule: curfew. Now, Raymond Childs is serving a 360-year prison sentence. This is not a story about gang violence. It's not about drugs or money. It's about a teenager who made a decision that wiped out his entire family. No warning, no second chances, just silence, and then 6 bodies on the floor. This is the case of Raymond Childs. What makes a teenager turn against his own blood? If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now let's dive in. Raymond Childs was a 42-year-old man living in Indianapolis, Indiana. He worked full-time and maintained a private lifestyle. Most people in the neighborhood didn't know much about him. He wasn't the kind of person who sought attention or engaged in unnecessary conversation. Neighbors who lived on the same street described him as quiet, focused, and very structured in how he lived. Inside the home, that same structure was applied to how he raised his children. Raymond had several children under his care, including his biological son. He also lived with his wife, Kezzy Childs, and stepchildren. In total, the house included multiple teenagers and younger children. There were rules in place for everyone, and Raymond made sure they were followed. This included household chores, behavior standards, and most importantly, curfews. Raymond believed that if a child lived under his roof, they followed his rules. No exceptions. He was known by relatives and neighbors as someone who didn't tolerate disrespect or disobedience. His methods were not violent, but he didn't shy away from confrontation. If one of his children broke the rules, they could expect to be called out immediately and directly. Kezzy Childs was 42 years old. She was married to Raymond, the father of the family. Together, they lived in a modest home on Adams Street, where they raised their children. Kezzy was a stepmother to Raymond Childs III, the 17-year-old accused of killing the family. Despite not being his biological mother, she had lived with him for years and was actively involved in raising him and his siblings. She helped take care of all the children in the household. Neighbors describe her as present, organized, and responsible. She wasn't known for any criminal activity, and no report suggested she had problems with the law. She was often seen doing chores, going to the store, and handling normal family responsibilities. Nothing about her routine indicated that something was wrong inside the home. According to court records and police reports, Kezzy was not involved in any disputes on the day of the crime. There were no warnings or signs that anything was about to happen. She was in the house when the shooting started. Elijah Childs was 18 years old at the time of his death. He was the older brother of Raymond Childs III. Elijah lived in the same household as the rest of the Childs family in a modest residential neighborhood. The house was not known for any prior incidents. From the outside, it looked like a normal home. Elijah was close to finishing high school. According to official records and statements given by school staff, he was preparing for independent adult life, likely to start with a job, possibly move out of his family home, and begin building a future. Elijah was in a steady relationship with 19-year-old Kiera Hawkins. She was pregnant with his child. The pregnancy was at an advanced stage, almost full term, when the incident occurred. It is believed she was staying at the child's household that night. She and Elijah shared a bedroom. They had been together for over a year. Elijah and Kiera were planning for the arrival of their baby. Items such as baby clothes, supplies, and prenatal documents were later found during the investigation. The unborn child was also listed among the fatalities in the court case. Rita Childs was a 13-year-old girl. She's a student. She lived in the same house as her father, stepmother, and 3 brothers. She was known to follow routines. School days started early. On Sundays, she usually stayed home. No one expected her life to end at 13 years old inside her own bedroom. Raymond Childs III was 17 years old when he committed one of the most shocking family murders in recent American history. He lived with his father, stepmother, siblings, and his older brother's pregnant girlfriend. It was a regular household by all appearances. There were no reports of extreme abuse, no known criminal history in the family, and no public warnings that something violent was about to happen. Raymond was a typical high school student in terms of lifestyle. He lived under the authority of his father, Raymond Childs Jr., who enforced structure and household discipline. Like most teenagers, Raymond had rules he was expected to follow. These included curfews, specific times by which he was supposed to return home at night. This rule was one of the ongoing points of tension between Raymond and his father. According to later testimony, there had been repeated warnings given to him about staying out late, and his father had told him there would be consequences if it happened again. On the night of January 23rd, 2021, Raymond stayed out past curfew. When he returned home, his father confronted him. The exact words exchanged between them are not public, but sources confirmed that he was scolded and warned that punishment would follow. This wasn't the first time Raymond had been spoken to about breaking rules, but this time he reacted differently. Instead of responding verbally or escalating the argument, Raymond walked away. He didn't go to his room. He went to his father's bedroom. Inside that room were 2 firearms, a 9mm handgun and a Draco-style semi-automatic rifle. Both weapons were unsecured and accessible. Raymond retrieved both guns, then began walking through the house. What followed was a methodical sequence of shootings. Raymond first approached his father and stepmother and shot them at close range. He then moved through the home and shot his younger siblings. His 13-year-old sister, Rita, was killed. His older brother, Elijah, and Elijah's pregnant girlfriend, Kiera Hawkins, were both shot next. Kiera was in the final stages of pregnancy. The unborn child did not survive. Each victim was targeted. They were all killed in different parts of the home. Police later stated that the shootings appeared deliberate and not rushed. This indicated premeditation and control. During the shooting spree, Raymond's 15-year-old brother was also shot. However, he survived. Though injured, he was able to escape the house and run to a nearby location. From there, he contacted authorities and identified Raymond Childs III as a shooter. He provided details of what happened, how the argument had started, and what he witnessed before fleeing the scene. A call was made to emergency services by a teenage male who claimed that someone in his home had shot his family. When police officers from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department arrived on the scene, they found no evidence of forced entry. The doors were intact. Windows were not broken. No signs suggested an external intruder. The house was locked, as if no one had come in or gone out unnaturally. The crime scene was contained entirely inside the family home. Upon entering the house, law enforcement officials immediately encountered a graphic scene. There were bodies in multiple rooms of the residence. Some victims were found in bedrooms. Others were located in common areas. Each victim had sustained fatal gunshot wounds. There were signs that the shots had been targeted. Investigators later confirmed that the victims had little time to react or resist. The attack appeared to have occurred quickly and at close range. 6 people were confirmed dead inside the home. His father, his stepmother, his older brother, his younger sister, Elijah's girlfriend. Unborn child Kiara was in the final stages of pregnancy. Each victim was found in a separate position throughout the house. Investigators noted that none of the victims appeared to have been grouped together at the time of death. This indicated that the shooter moved from room to room. Inside the home, crime scene technicians found blood splatters on walls and floors in multiple rooms. There were bullet casings from different calibers scattered around the house. This confirmed the use of more than one firearm. Investigators recovered 2 handguns believed to have been used in the shooting. Both firearms were located inside the house, left behind after the suspect fled. The weapons were registered to the father. This meant that the guns were already in the home before the shooting occurred. There was no indication that the weapons had been brought in from outside or purchased illegally. The shooter had direct access to them. Ballistics tests later confirmed that both guns had been fired multiple times. Shell casings from both weapons were found near each body. One gun had jammed during the incident, based on ejection patterns and internal examination. Police began a room-by-room documentation of the scene. In the master bedroom, the body of Raymond was discovered. He had been shot multiple times in upper chest. In an adjacent bedroom, Kezzie Childs was found on the floor near the doorway. Elijah Childs and Kiara Hawkins were found together in a different room. They had been shot at close range. Kiara's body showed signs of late-stage pregnancy. The fetus was declared dead at the scene. Rita Childs, the 13-year-old daughter, was found alone in a separate bedroom. The 15-year-old told investigators that the shooter began the attack in one part of the house and then moved quickly, targeting each person individually. He said the shooting began after the father had confronted the suspect earlier that day for breaking curfew. Security cameras in the neighborhood did not capture the incident, but confirmed that no one else had entered or exited the property around the time of the murders. Police cleared the home and began immediate containment of the scene. Detectives interviewed the surviving witness, who gave them the name of the shooter. Within a few hours, authorities located him at a relative's residence. A firearm was also recovered during the investigation. He did not resist arrest and was taken into custody without incident. Due to the severity of the crime, 6 dead, including a pregnant woman and an unborn child, prosecutors moved to charge Raymond Childs III as an adult. Indiana law allows juveniles as young as 16 to be charged as adults in murder cases. In this case, the decision was made quickly based on the volume and nature of the killings. The official charges brought against Raymond were as follows: 6 counts of murder, 1 count for each person who died in the house: his father, stepmother, 2 siblings, his brother's girlfriend, and her unborn child. 1 count of attempted murder for shooting his 15-year-old brother, who survived the attack. 1 count of carrying a handgun without a license for possession of the firearm used in the killings. The first legal hurdle was determining mental competency. Despite his age, multiple evaluations confirmed that Raymond understood the nature of the charges and the court process. He was declared mentally fit to stand trial. Raymond's first court appearances focused on the procedural requirements of trying a juvenile as an adult. The court reviewed the extent of the crime, his age, and the public safety concerns involved. The judge approved the motion, and the case was transferred from juvenile court to adult criminal court. His first trial began in 2023. Prosecutors presented witness testimony, forensic evidence, and the survivor's statements. The surviving brother testified in person and gave consistent, detailed information about how Raymond carried out the shootings. Police body camera footage from the scene was also submitted into evidence. Ballistics reports matched the bullets found in the victims to the firearm recovered after Raymond's arrest. Despite the strength of the evidence, the first trial did not result in a conviction. Legal complications led to a mistrial. The court did not publicly disclose the full reason, but mistrials can occur due to procedural errors, jury issues, or conflicting testimony. In this case, it was reported that jury instructions were mishandled during deliberations, making the verdict process invalid. A new trial date was set. The second trial took place in 2024. This time, the prosecution reintroduced all existing evidence and streamlined the case. They focus on timeline accuracy, weapon use, and Raymond's intent. Surveillance footage from nearby homes placed Raymond near the scene before and after the shooting. His phone records were used to track his movement in the hours following the killings. The defense argued that Raymond acted out of fear or confusion after the argument with his father, but they provided no alternative theory to explain the multiple homicides. They did not dispute that Raymond had used a firearm or that he had been in the home at the time. On March 10, 2025, Raymond stood before a judge in an Indiana courtroom. He was 21 years old. 4 years earlier, he had committed one of the deadliest family shootings in the state's recent history. After months of legal proceedings, including delays, mistrials, and full reviews of evidence, the court reached a final decision. The judge sentenced him to 360 years in prison. This was not a single sentence for one crime. It was a combined sentence, made up of multiple punishments stacked together for each victim. Every charge carried its own penalty. When added up, the total time came to 3 centuries and 6 decades. Indiana law allows for parole under certain circumstances, but only when sentences are structured to permit it. In Raymond's case, all sentences are consecutive. All sentences are fixed at maximum terms. The judge did not allow parole eligibility. The court's final ruling stated that Raymond Childs III must serve his entire sentence, with no chance of early release, probation, or reduction. He will live out the rest of his life in a state correctional facility. The murder of 6 family members by 17-year-old Raymond Childs III quickly became one of the most disturbing stories in Indianapolis history. Once the news broke, the city's initial response was confusion, followed by widespread attention and scrutiny. What began as a neighborhood incident escalated into a national headline within hours. Shortly afterward, the story spread to national platforms. CNN covered the case under its crime and justice section. They provided the basic timeline, an argument between father and son, followed by the son retrieving firearms and shooting multiple family members. CNN included direct statements from Indianapolis Metropolitan Police officials, who confirmed that the crime did not involve drugs, gangs, or robbery. The motive was strictly tied to a domestic dispute, specifically a curfew violation. The Associated Press, AP, issued a national wire story that was picked up by several major outlets. Their headline was direct: 17-year-old charged in Indianapolis family massacre. The story explained the charges, the identities of the victims, and the timeline of events. AP also reported that the teenager had been charged as an adult, given the severity of the crime. People magazine, a national outlet better known for entertainment and human interest stories, ran a report titled, "Teenager allegedly killed 6 family members, including pregnant woman." The article listed the names and ages of all 6 victims, including the unborn child. It also mentioned that one sibling survived and that the family had no prior history of reported domestic violence. As the case made headlines, Indianapolis residents expressed shock at the nature of the crime. In interviews with local reporters, neighbors described the family as quiet, private, and ordinary. There had been no previous police calls to the house. The idea that a teen could commit such a calculated act of violence against his own family members challenged common assumptions about safety and family dynamics. The first major discussion point that emerged from the case involved teen anger and mental health. Viewers and readers questioned how a 17-year-old could become violent enough to murder his entire family. Although there was no confirmed mental illness in Raymond Childs III's background, the crime raised concerns about the psychological state of young people under stress. Some experts appeared on news segments to discuss the possible role of unaddressed emotional problems, poor conflict resolution skills, and the lack of mental health support for teens. School officials and counselors used the case to remind families to monitor behavioral changes in adolescents, particularly when there are rising tensions at home. Educational groups call for better access to youth counseling services in public schools. Community leaders also pointed out that many teens do not have safe ways to express anger or resolve conflict. The Childs case was cited as an example of what could happen when communication breaks down between parents and children. The second major issue that came under public review was gun access inside homes. Reports confirmed that the firearms used in the shootings belonged to father. Raymond Childs Jr. authorities stated that the teen retrieved 2 guns, one of which was a semi-automatic, from his father's room after being scolded for breaking curfew. This triggered criticism from gun control advocates who questioned why loaded guns were accessible to a minor. Indiana state law does not require firearms in private homes to be locked up, but this case reopened that debate. Legal analysts and safety experts argued that easy access to firearms, even by responsible gun owners, can increase the likelihood of domestic violence, especially involving teenagers. Gun rights supporters responded by emphasizing that the problem was not the firearm itself, but the misuse by the individual. Still, both sides agreed that gun storage practices in homes needed to be revisited. In the aftermath, local authorities and national gun safety organizations promoted programs offering free gun locks and gun safes to families. Public service announcements were released, advising gun owners to lock weapons securely, especially when there are children or teens in the household. The final public conversation involved the subject of parental discipline and warning signs of violence. According to reports, the motive behind the killings was an argument about curfew. The father had confronted Raymond for staying out too late. Instead of resolving the matter, the teen left the room, retrieved weapons, and carried out the killings. This led to a debate on how discipline should be handled in homes, especially when teenagers show signs of rebellion or anger. Some viewers blamed strict parenting, while others questioned whether there were early signs that had been missed, such as verbal threats, aggressive behavior, or withdrawal from family interaction. Media outlets published op-eds and panel discussions on how parents could spot warning signs of dangerous behavior in their children. Law enforcement officials advised that sudden behavioral shifts, threats of violence, or signs of obsession with weapons should be taken seriously, even if the child has no prior criminal record. Some community centers responded by organizing seminars for parents on conflict resolution and nonviolent communication with teens. Social workers explained that most violent outbursts don't happen without earlier signals, although in this case, no public reports of such signs were ever made. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.